Hey everyone, welcome to the Automation Hours. My name is Grady and I'm not good at using microphones. And today's session is all about the opportunity record inside of Infusionsoft. And we asked you guys this question: are you using the product subscription plans tab on opportunity records? The answer was overwhelmingly no, which is awesome because that means that what we are talking about today is going to be new to you. And hopefully it is something that you can utilize to get even more value out of Infusionsoft. Now, that's not all we're talking about today in today's session. We're going to be talking about some of the awesome bells and whistles that are available to you inside of the sales pipeline in Infusionsoft. We've already had a couple of sessions on this topic, and now we're going to really dive deep. Now, I do want to call out that this is an Infusionsoft specific session. The features that we talk about are Infusionsoft specific. It's one of our products in our product line. Now, if you are inside of Keep Pro and you're here in the session, I would invite you to maybe choose to stick around. Even though we won't be talking about the software Keep, a lot of the principles we talk about are still viable for any solution that you're using. But if you drop out, no hard feelings, but if you stick around, I hope that you see value out of today's session. You might even say, ooh, I need to switch over to Infusionsoft. That's the stuff I've been looking for this whole time. So we're glad you're here no matter where you're at. Now, today's session is meant to be interactive, and it's why we're here live rather than just sending you a recording. And so if you've got questions as we go along, raise that hand. Let us know you've got a question. We'll give you access to unmute your microphone, and we can talk it out. Now, I do appreciate not everyone loves to be on the microphone. Some people even struggle with it. And if that's the case for you, that's cool. We've got Q&A. Q&A is a special way to engage where everything you ask there, I get in a special queue. And those things stay there until I make sure that we address them. And if we don't address it, they stay there. And I just mark them off as we go. And the reason I call that out is because we also have chat, and chat is a wonderful tool. We've been using it. You guys let me know I wasn't off mute on the microphone yet. You guys were letting us know the answer to the question we posed to you guys, and that's a perfect use for chat. But I would ask, if you've got questions that you want to ask, put them in Q&A, because that chat streams pretty fast. And I try to always pull out things as I see them. But if your question is in chat and it scrolls by, it's probably lost forever. And I hate the idea of someone coming here and not getting their questions answered. So also make sure you're asking them when you think about it. Even if it's not a good application of what we're talking about right now, I'll always just hold that question back if I think that's a good choice. And we'll make sure that we have some time at the end. But so I've had some people like slide in a question at like 2 minutes till the end, and we've had trouble getting to those questions and giving them the space that they need. So please ask away as you have it. So let's just talk about who we are being joined with today and the problem we're trying to solve here. And that is just the idea that our pipeline has some amazing tools in it. There are some great things that we can do to be able to find better value and track our opportunities. But there are even more things that people don't always know about. There's sometimes a little bit of the secrets that are buried deep down that we can do that will really give your experience, not only your experience as you help your customers, but just the internal experience with you and your sales team to make things really, really pop. And so we've got two guests today. The first one, we've got Paul Sokol back. If you go back to the archives, Paul has actually come with a couple sessions about the sales pipeline, and he has been an amazing partner of ours. He's actually used to be one of our employees, and he went out, set off on his own, and he's done great things. I love his call out there that he's sold more than $250,000 worth of services through our opportunities in Infusionsoft. There is money to be had there, and if we can master it and get it to work for us. And because it is Thursday, we've got Renee with us. I think that she's just on permanent repeat now, which we love, because Renee brings so much to the table. One is that a lot of you guys know Renee now because you've been coming as well every week, and you've gotten to know her, as well as just the other things that she brings to the table when it comes to other areas of her expertise of not only our software, but how to use messaging in the software, how to bring some of those third-party tools in. And so between the two of them, we've got a powerhouse for today's session. Guys, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Grady.
Hi,
Hey,
Grady.
Renee.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, Paul. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that I'm not even sure who's sharing their screen today. So, but whoever it is, share away.
Perfect. So, as Grady, so Paul and I are both really excited to be here. We have, I think we are a powerhouse duo for sure. And a lot of actually like Paul has definitely been such a huge mentor of mine. And so a lot of what I know, actually, like I've brought, the Muhammad to the mountain, so to speak. So we're really, really excited. So just a little bit of context then on today's session. Let me get it into presenter mode. So Paul and I have both done independent sessions on the sales pipeline. His first session was in the end of April, and the sales pipeline automation mastery session was all about strategy, and it didn't go into any tool training. It was essentially to give you the foundation and background of why you would be using a sales pipeline, how to set up your sales pipeline stages effectively, and kind of laying that foundation and groundwork, which is so important because at the end of the day, the tool, if you don't set it up properly, is only going to be as good as the strategy behind it. And then following that, to complement that session, in the beginning of May, I did an Infusionsoft specific implementation workshop that was really about taking the foundations that Paul was talking about in his session and then showing you how to start putting those pieces in place. So with those two sessions, what we decided to do today was a part 3, because there's definitely a lot of bells and whistles that you can be leveraging inside of the sales pipeline that not only are a lot of users not even familiar with how to use opportunities correctly, so that is a hurdle in itself, which I think we are able to overcome quite easily once you know how to use it, but also what else can it do? Some of those kind of like finer tuning points so that you can be leveraging opportunities and using your sales pipeline to the maximum capability. So that's what we're going to be doing today. It's going to be diving into all of the bells and whistles that you may or may not have known even existed. So just a little framing in case you haven't watched those two sessions, and at the very end of today's session, both in the slides as well as a email that will come out, we will be sending you the first two. So if you haven't watched the first two sessions, not a problem, but I just wanted to start off by kind of putting a little foundation in place of why would you even use the sales pipeline? Who is it for? So essentially and this is from Paul's first session, so I just thought it was perfect. When you have an assisted sale with a price magnitude of $100 or more, so you're not talking about something small, but that someone can't go on the website and buy it themselves, they have to have a human interaction. The sales pipeline is key, because what it's going to allow us to do is essentially work the opportunity, work the deal, either till it goes into a closed stage and we win it, or they fall out of our pipeline. Paul, anything you want to add for uses of sales pipeline?
You can also use the sales pipeline for fulfillment as well. So after the sale's been made, if your fulfillment has an extensive process, you can also use sales stages and some of the bells and whistles that we've talked about here. And so there's definitely been use cases where there's an entirely other system being used for the selling part, and then they use opportunities just for the fulfillment. So keep that in mind, that it doesn't just have to be the sales part of the customer journey. You could also leverage this for the delivery, which is something that I do. I've got stages to track who's got active projects and who's got calls and all sorts of stuff like that.
Perfect. Yeah, that's super valuable. So a couple of foundations I just wanted to mention, or we just wanted to mention, was that for this part, a lot of these bells and whistles we're talking about, there are certain foundations that need to be in place essentially to leverage these to their full capability. So I just wanted to call them out here. And again, if you have not had a chance to watch either of those first two sessions, this is going to be recorded, so you can always go back, watch those, and then start here. But the benefit of being here today is that you've got us live, so you can ask questions too. But the foundations that you would want to have in place is, number one, you want to make sure that if you are when you're in Infusionsoft, the more recent editions all come with sales pipeline. But if you have been around for a number of years, you might have an edition of Infusionsoft that doesn't have the sales pipeline. So first and foremost, you need the sales pipeline addition or that element. And the way you would know you have it is simply by going to the CRM in the main nav and seeing if you see opportunities there. If you do, then you have the right tool to set up your sales pipeline. The second is that you want to have those sales pipeline stages. So those milestone stages that you're tracking from either the sales side or the delivery side, but you need to have the actual sales pipeline stages set up. And that is done in the CRM in the settings. Third, usually to start using bells and whistles, step one is like we want to walk before we run. So you want to be using opportunities in a very basic workflow. Like you might be going to an opportunity and just essentially leveraging that general tab, which has the sales stages and then your next action date and notes. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today is going to complement some of those basics that you might be doing. And if you're not doing those basics, then I would encourage you to first start with the basics and then use today's session to know what are the capabilities that you can add on in a little bit of time once you're comfortable using opportunities. And last but not least, you would want to have your product set up if you want to specifically be able to leverage some of the things like tracking potential revenue, weighted revenue, some of these finer tuned details that we're going to get in today. You want to have the products or subscriptions set up inside of the Infusionsoft e-commerce area so that we can have them attached to the opportunity records.
And it's important to point out on that first step that if you don't have CRM opportunities, you can always upgrade and get that turned on. So you're not totally out of luck. You would just contact support, and then they should be able to help you out with that. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, if you know who your account manager is, they can do that pretty easily.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a packed agenda for today. I'm not going to go through every little detail on the screen, but just to know that we're going to cover three main areas. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time on the opportunity record itself, diving into some of those bells and whistles that are available right from the record. And then we're also going to go over to the CRM, the settings area, where there are some important settings to know about that you would want to set up, or at least just be aware of that you can leverage those too. And then last but not least, some of the really powerful reporting that you can do specifically with the sales reports. And so we'll be getting into a little bit of those as well. The one thing I will mention about the reports is we could probably do an entire session just on those. And Paul has actually come out with a phenomenal guide, a phenomenal post that kind of goes through all of them in detail. And again, you will get access to that as a resource. So we will go through as much of this as possible, but without any further ado, because we've got a lot to go into, we should get started.
All right, and I saw a question come in, and I know you might have, I think you mentioned this earlier, Grady, but they're asking, Tanya saying, if I have Keep, is this still applicable? So this is an Infusionsoft specific training for today, because not all of these bells and whistles, exist in the Keep platform, at least not yet. So.
Yeah, so I would say
still hang out though.
Yeah,
there's
the
cool
principles
information
behind it can still be helpful for you, but if you hang out for a few minutes, you're like, nah, it's not. Drop out, no hard feelings.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to start with the opportunity record. So if you're not using opportunities yet, this is a perfect place that you can start to know about those features and you can start to use it because again, it's super powerful. The number one reason, or a number one reason, I would say, maybe not but forgetting things or allowing things to fall through the cracks simply because we don't have visibility on them is oftentimes why we're losing opportunities. So having it in your sales pipeline is going to give you that visibility and to start to allow you to kind of know who are the people I need to be following up with today, tomorrow, what are the things I've done with them last. And then these bells and whistles are just going to allow you to further enhance that as well. So over in the CRM, you can see that the opportunities is the third option down. And so a really quick overview, these are two opportunities that I've got inside of this application. And when you open up an opportunity record, there's a couple of things I want you to note. When you first open up the opportunity record, the top part of the opportunity record is going to have some really specific information that belongs to the opportunity. Whereas below, when you see the second tab menu, you're going to start to be able to also see information from the contact record, because again, it's important to keep in mind that Infusionsoft is a contact-centric system. So everything starts with the contact record, and then you would connect an opportunity to that contact record, a deal that you're working on. And over the course of your entire relationship with that customer or with that contact, you might have multiple opportunity records or opportunities that you've worked on with them. But generally speaking, most businesses have one opportunity record per contact open, one active opportunity record open at a time. And so there's kind of like 3 areas of the opportunity record that most people who are using opportunities would be leveraging these areas. Definitely the sales stage and step. So this is just when you create your pipeline and you've got those milestones or those stages that you want to be able to track and say, where is this person and which milestone or stage are they in my pipeline? That is the drop-down menu that you're seeing that's populated from creating your sales pipeline. The next thing is the next follow-up action, as well as your next follow-up action date and notes as well. So date and time and notes. So essentially what you're doing here in the next follow-up action is you're leaving a note to your future self. You're telling yourself what you're supposed to be, what action are you supposed to be doing, and when are you supposed to be doing that. So as an example, on this opportunity record, I have answer any questions from a brochure that I would have sent, and set an appointment for a demo. And so when this date comes, 6/26, I would click on the plus add a note about my last action, and I would simply indicate now what did I do. So, likely when that date comes, I would have answered their questions and set a appointment, and then I would move the next follow-up action date out so that I know what I need to be doing next. So you're always creating a paper trail for yourself, essentially, of what is the next thing that you need to do. And then when that date comes up, then you record what did you actually do toward that next action date. Paul, anything you want to add to that?
So I want to highlight that this is number 3 in the foundation slide. What you just did there about adding a note, here's what I did, here's what I'm going to do next, and here's by when. That's what we mean when we say properly working the opportunity, because then there's no way that people are going to go ahead and slip through the cracks. And I also want to highlight that what you said about having multiple opportunities throughout the course of the lifetime of the relationship, it's very handy to be able to see, and especially as you go throughout the years, and if you're a service business like me, you can actually see, okay, 2 years ago we won this project and we did X for them. So when they bubble up again, it's not in a vacuum. You can say, oh yeah, that's right, we built this thing for you 2 years ago. It's good to have you back, and kind of go from there. And
one of the questions we have over in the Q&A from Nathan, he asked, can data from the opportunity field be used in emails in the campaign builder?
So that's an awesome question, Nathan. So the specific answer to that is no, but you can use information from that in pipeline automation emails, which we're actually going to be discussing a little later when we get to the CRM settings. So keep that in mind and pay close attention to that. So yes, but not in the campaign builder.
Exactly. Okay. So let me show. So I wanted to give just a little background. Now let me just get into some bells and whistles. So the very first thing that you can do, in addition to all of those kind of basic workflow that I just showed, is that you can have projected revenue on your opportunity records. So the projected revenue is going to allow you, it's got a field here where you can essentially input a currency value or a numerical currency value. And you can say like, it's worth, on the high end, it might be worth $500, and on the low end, it might be worth $100. Where this projected revenue shows up is inside of your opportunity searches. So when you input information into here, and you then go ahead and go over to your opportunity records and you perform a search, This is one additional criteria that you can put into that search to further narrow down opportunities that might be maybe your big ticket, projected revenues that you want to be able to track. So for example, if I go over to the opportunity field or the opportunity tab in the search and I scroll to the bottom, you can see that the projected revenue high and low lives here. And so you're able to use it as another criteria. So I can say it has to be greater than, as an example, like a greater than $400. And I might be looking for opportunities in a particular stage, but that are worth more, so that I maybe I'm going to follow up with those. So it's another criteria that you're able to search by and then start to filter contacts that meet that value as well. Also on the front end, so again, these are all things I'm covering under the general tab of your opportunity record. So one is the projected revenue. Again, this is definitely a bell that a lot of people are not necessarily using or don't even know how to use it. So this is one thing there. Also, when the deal is going to close. So there are a couple of reports. We'll talk about one. Paul, hopefully you'll get a chance to talk about that one specific report that ties to this, but there is a report inside of the sales in the CRM reports, the sales reports. And only when you have information here are you able to extract more data out of that report. You have to have either a close date there, and then you can also have it committed to forecast. What that means is you're able to say, I'm expecting this deal to close on X date. So let's say you were going to give them like a sweet deal, but it was only applicable up until the end of the month, let's say as an example. So you could say, then I expect this deal to close by the end of the month. And if you want to commit it to the forecast, this is just giving confidence. So inside the reports, again, you're able to search for deals that are closing by a particular date. And another criteria that you can leverage is it committed to the forecast? Paul, what's your thoughts on anything I've missed or that I need to add on those two sections?
So one thing that the projected revenue is very handy for that a lot of people might not put two and two together is you can create a saved search that uses those data values in the columns. You can display that in the search, and then you can put that saved search on your dashboard. So yeah, Renee, if you want to go ahead and set that same criteria, but then go to columns and set the projected revenue, what this can do is this can give you another way to show it. So when you search, you can see the data is not there, but then when you edit it, projected revenue is available. And then you could save this search and you could put this on the dashboard. And then if you really wanted to get fancy with it, you could actually do a custom stats widget that does a summation across that field for you. And then right from the get-go, you can see, hey, in general, sales rep A has this projected revenue, or in the whole pipeline, there's this projected revenue to spend, depends on how it's set up. And Renee is a whiz, and she's going to do this live for you right now. And so you would do an opportunity search.
Did you want it to be a save search or a custom, like a widget?
Well, you can do both. So this is one way to do it, but let's do it as a custom widget. This is a deep dive. We are talking about all the bells and whistles here. So yeah, let's do this as a custom stat. And even more fancy with the custom stat, you don't just have to do a sum. You could do an average, you could do a max, you could do a min. So you can really, if you set the save searches up in such a way, you can create a very valuable dashboard with lots of insights for you. And again, that's assuming that you're using opportunities correctly in the proper way. So yeah, let's just do like a sum, for example, and then you can say, hey, it's an opportunity search, it's the greater than 400. And then remember, there's the third column to select for what are we actually summing across. So in this case, it would be the projected revenue high. And there you go. This is on the dashboard, and you can see, and there's only one, but projected revenue is $500. So that's super handy. And then as far as the deal closing and committing to forecast, again, this is very helpful for cash flow. And so maybe not necessarily at the individual sales rep level, but the sales manager, chief revenue officer, CEO level, it's really handy to say, okay, well, here's, the cash flow forecast, and it looks like we're going to be closing X number of business, by this month. And so that can help with budgets and and just where the money goes.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
especially too the idea of being proactive. So if you see a shortfall, you can say, "What do we need to do to make up this gap?" Because I know a lot of companies are like they'll look at the previous month and go, "Oh, we didn't hit our numbers. Oopsies." But you can be proactive and say, "Oh, we're falling short. What are we going to do right now to help us cover this gap?"
Absolutely. And I think there is one more bell and whistle on the general tab
Yes.
that we didn't cover yet, and this is a fun one. That's the lead referral partner. So if you're using the referral partner program and you're giving out commissions, when you look at an order record, there's actually two ways you can give out commission. You can give commission for who is the sales referral partner, and then you can also do it for the lead. So this would be used in the case where, let's say, you're paying a lead generation, you're paying for the lead generation. So you're saying, we're going to pay you percentage commissions for every lead that you give us. This is how you would actually track that. And so in the referral partner program, that's actually what that difference is between the lead partner and the sales partner. So you can see in this example, there's a default commission of 20% on the sale and then 10% on the lead. And so if this opportunity does end up becoming an order record in the system, then they would be able to get that commission. So what we'll do is when we get to the next tab and we actually create an order, we'll show you where that shows up. But that's a bell and whistle a lot of people don't know. You can do two different types of commission, not just a straight sales commission.
Yeah, absolutely. And Paul, what would you say is the difference between potential and weighted revenue?
Ooh, this is a great question. So the difference between potential and weighted revenue. So the weighted revenue is based on the stage that they're actually in. And when we look at the CRM settings, we can take a peek at that. But when you're setting your stages up, you would set a probability, which is the probability and likelihood that the sale is going to close. So for example, in this qualified stage, I'd probably say something like 50% probability, because at that point, it's literally a coin flip, at least based on how I train people. Somebody's qualified if they have the budget and they have the authority to spend it. That means it makes sense to move ahead in the sales process. And it really is the flip of a coin at that point. They can either say yes or no. And so we would say, okay, this is a 50% chance of closing. And then that's where the weighting comes in. So you can see this is a great transition of the products and subscription tab. When you choose the products that they may be purchasing, the weighted revenue is calculated off of that. So you can see at the top, next to the name, that it's $200 one time and then $100 a month. That would be the full revenue. The weighted version is that percentage. So the weighted revenue is $100 and $50 a month, assuming a 50% chance of closing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is where we were mentioning that in order to leverage this, you do need to have your product set up. If you're not having the product set up, then you're not able to leverage and use this tab to its full capabilities. And simply to set up your products, those would be under the e-commerce products. And whether it's a subscription product or a one-time product, both of them you're going to set up under there. So once you have the product set up, there's a couple of different ways you can add them to this tab. The first way, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the stuff that's on here just to show you. The first way is that you can simply search. If you know it's a product, meaning that it's going to be a one-time purchase, you can simply just go ahead and start typing in the name, and then it's going to bring you up a list of everything that's available. So I think I've called this oxygen tank. So I can go ahead and add that, and you can see the products. Any products that I'm going to be adding are going to start showing up here. Now I do also have some capabilities to modify this too, because the price, the $1,000 price, is pulling from my product setup, but I'm able to, if I click on the edit option, I'm able to manipulate the quantity as well as offer a discount if I wanted to. So if I wanted to give them like a 2-for-1 special, basically, I could offer that from the opportunity record as well. The other thing to mention, so subscription plans are going to be any kind of reoccurring payments that you're going to be able to set up. Again, you would set that up in the product section. Bundles are really interesting because If you know that you sell things together, and often you're selling maybe I'm going to, in this example, maybe I'm going to sell someone an oxygen tank, which is a one-time purchase, but then I'm going to sell them a monthly refill of the actual oxygen that they'll need to keep, using for the tank. So what you're able to do is you're able to actually set up bundles which will bundle options together. So if you know, again, like these top 5 things or these 2 things or these 7 things, I'm usually selling these things together. You're able to create a bundle that can add the products or subscriptions that you've created within it. And then it would effectively add that onto the opportunity record in the products and subscriptions. And then you can, of course, remove, like, let's say you put a top 5 and then really this potential prospect was only interested in maybe the 4. You could simply just remove the thing that they don't want, but it saves you from having to go ahead and add each one individually. So this is a really powerful one. As well. And we'll show you where to set up these bundles. Those bundles actually get set up also in the CRM settings, but once you've set them up, you're able to leverage them from the opportunity record. Anything to add, Paul, on interests?
Yes. So with the bundles, the other thing that this can be used in is in the automation. So inside your campaigns, you can automatically create a new opportunity and assign it to somebody on that and all that jazz. You can also select a bundle as well. So if somebody's going through a specific campaign that's trying to sell a particular product or service, you can actually create an opportunity for your sales team with the bundle already pre-populated. So that way they understand what they should be trying to push and what they should be trying to sell here. And so as you can see in the opportunity module, the bundle is right under where the assigned user is. And that just saves everybody time. And then that also feeds into the reporting and those kinds of things as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a huge one, actually. This is huge. So you're starting to automatically populate not only the opportunity, but it's coming in with dollars associated with it right away.
Mm-hmm. And I actually see a great question from Justin here, and this is actually probably a great time to address it. So he says, when using opportunities, do you have a campaign sequence in the background that's creating tasks for the sales rep to follow up with the lead, or does the sequence have a task generation in it separately? So usually when you're using opportunities, you do not also want to be using tasks. If it helps, an opportunity is like a rolling task, and it's going to continue to show up on the user's calendar until you mark it as a won or a lost. If you were to also create a task in addition to an opportunity, there now are going to be 2 things on the calendar for that one contact. Now, there's certainly edge cases where this is appropriate. So, for example, the next follow-up action is to answer any questions from the brochure and set an appointment. Maybe I want to have an additional task to maybe do some outside research on Greg House, or maybe this is actually something I did all the time as a success coach at Infusionsoft, because I use opportunities to track my clients. I would have the main next follow-up action as when their call is, like when their next call is, and then I would create a task separately to send them their calendar invite for the next call.
Yeah, and I've used it too where I'll say if someone is sitting in a stage too long, a task gets triggered because maybe I've missed something somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But
And then, sorry, Grady.
I was going to say, yeah, I agree.
And Mark, great follow-up question. He says, will this also be on my task list that I use to work off of? So yes and no. It isn't going to show up on the list of tasks, but it does show up on your calendar. And your calendar will show tasks, opportunities, and appointments. So if you go to the calendar items, and then I think his next, there you go. I think it was the 26th. So Renee, if you want to change the date to the 26th, we'll actually see Dr. Greg House's opportunity. And we know it's an opportunity because of the little $sign. And then from here, you can click into the name and go to the contact record if you want, or you can go directly into the opportunity from here. So when you're setting up your dashboards, you definitely want to make sure you have a calendar item. And as a sales rep, pretty much the first thing you would do every morning is log in and look at your calendar. And then that way it ensures nobody's going to slip through the cracks.
Yeah, that's another reason why I like the My Day, because it does a really good job of making all those things show up and be workable.
Okay, and then we'll keep pushing ahead. That's another great question, Justin. I definitely want to make sure we get through the rest of the bells and whistles, though.
Yes. So a couple of other things on the products and subscriptions tab. So one was the interests, where we can add information about products or subscriptions or create them as bundles, which we saw we can leverage with campaign builder automation as well. You are also able to create a payment plan. So on products, if you wanted to offer somebody a payment plan, let's say it was like a big ticket item and you wanted to give them the option to like pay it in installments as an example, you can also assign a payment plan from your opportunity record so that when it creates the order, it's going to take into account whatever payment plan you've created. So the payment plan can take like an initial amount up front, or you could even have it so that it like waits X days, because when you're creating a payment plan, and this setting is also inside of the e-commerce settings, to get to payment plans, you would just also need the e-commerce module. And actually, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Paul, do you need e-com module for the payment plans?
So if you're using opportunities, it actually gives you certain functions of e-commerce, because products, for example, you do need products in order to use opportunities here. So if you have opportunities, you will have certain e-commerce options, and I believe payment plans is one of those, but you would not have the order form and the shopping cart and the shipping and all that jazz. So
Right.
you'd get like half of this page.
Got it. So yeah, so you would be able to create payment plans. So for example, I created a payment plan here where you can also charge financing. So like if someone is paying over a longer period of time, you can decide if you want to increase, like add a percentage or an actual amount. But what you can do is you can decide how many payments they're going to have, and then the time between the payments, and then also how many days until the first payment hits their account. So if I just wanted the first payment to be taken today and then wait 30 days and then it's going to charge the second payment, I would leave the days until start as 0. But if I wanted to give them a 30-day runway and then charge them the first payment, wait another 30 days and then charge them the second, then you would set that up in the first way. So whatever payment plan you've created here, you're able to also leverage that on the opportunity record by simply selecting it. So all the different payment plans that you've created for yourself that live under the e-commerce. So you can see I've just called this one PPTH payment plan. And so you can see that when I go back to my opportunity record and I go into that products and subscriptions tab, I'm able to also select a payment plan specifically for this contact as well. With regard to subscriptions, you can do something cool here where, like a lot of times with a subscription plan, you can offer a free trial on that. So before their reoccurring payment starts to hit, you're able to create a 7-day or a 30-day or whatever that looks like, a free trial day. So again, if I was to create an order for this, the payment plan is associated to the actual product, and then the free trial is going to be associated to the subscription plan. Before moving to buy now links, which are exciting, Paul, anything to add about payment plans or free trials?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. But this next part, guys, this is literally how you make money with opportunities. Like, because this is great. This is tracking the sales process. This is saying, what are they going to buy? It's still not money in the bank. So pay close attention. These next two things are literally how you put money in the bank.
So with the buy now links, essentially think about urgency. Think about when you're like on Facebook and you hit like an ad, and that ad takes you to a page that's got a countdown timer. You get this price for this amount of time, but it's going to expire. Buy now links have that same ability to create scarcity because the offer is going to expire after a specific time. And it's also just allowing you to send this link to someone where they can click it and pay for the thing, whatever you're offering them, right from the email. So the first thing is that if you do not set up if you leave this as blank, which you could, the buy now link will take, and we'll go over this in the CRM settings, but there is a default number of days that the buy now links will expire. So I've set mine to expire after 14 days if I don't put a specific deadline or a specific offer expiry date around this. And usually that would be in the case where you know, I would put an offer expiry if I've specifically had a conversation with this person and set the expectations like, hey, you've got until Friday. So let's say as an example, today is the 18th. So I say they've got until Friday to purchase the thing that I'm offering them. And I can make it that we need a quick decision, Grady. I don't have time for that.
Fast action bonuses.
So we go ahead and save that. Okay. And then here's the thing. So on that products and subscriptions tab, and also note that you do have access to the actions tab from general as well. Like it's living right where the save search is and all the different settings. You have this action tab here. But typically speaking, if you're going to set this up where you're going to put a expiry date on that buy now link you're going to send, then you want to actually send the link so that you can get the money in the bank. So you're able to go ahead and click on send buy now link. It is going to generate based on the products or subscriptions that are in your cart, in the interest section, and also based on the date of the offer expiry date and time, it is going to generate a very unique link that once someone clicks on it and it's in the past, they won't be able to get that thing anymore. So all I did to get here was I simply clicked on the send buy now link from my select an action dropdown. And then from there,
yeah, I'd go back.
Yeah, it didn't like that I closed it again. So from there, it's going to just pop up that window, and then you're able to click on edit. So you can access this buy now link, and then you can grab the actual URL from it. So if I just grab this and put it in my browser, what you're going to see here is that there is all the items that I've placed in the interest section. I put a 7-day free trial on the subscription, so you can see it's coming in at $0 right now, and it says 7 days free and then $100 a month for 12 months because I've put a 12 cycle on that monthly subscription. And what you're also seeing down here is because I've put a payment plan on the product itself, I said wait 30 days, then charge the first one. So technically they're going to pay nothing today, but they have to lock this in today. So they would have to go ahead and check out and then put their credit card details in, and then it would save their credit card on file, and then it's going to charge them properly. Now, let's say I go and move that to the past. So this is in the future. I'm going to go ahead and move that offer expiry date now to the past, and you can see how it's going to work with the buy now link. So I'm going to go ahead and press to the 15th now. I'm just going to go ahead and save that, and I'll grab another buy now link.
Yes. And that link is being generated unique each time you do it, and so just be aware of that.
And so what you're able to see is now, because I put the date in the past, there's nothing for them to buy. The offer has effectively expired. So this is super powerful. This is probably one of Paul's handiest tricks to getting that 300K in revenue from the opportunity records, or at least one of them, in addition to excellent service. So one is sending buy now links. The other thing to mention specifically from this actions dropdown is you're also able to create an order from this as well. Paul, what would be a use case of creating an order versus sending a buy now link?
So creating an order would be when you're actually on the phone and you're collecting credit card information. Okay, it's X dollars, Mrs. Jones, do you want to buy this? Yes. Okay, great. I'm ready for that credit card information. So when you go ahead and hit create order, it is going to say, what card do you want to use? You can add one and put it on file. And so if you hit add, it'll bring up a new little window, and business as usual for how you put in a credit card. And then once you've done that, you can create the order. Now, you don't have to have a credit card on file. So Renee, if you hit process right now, it's going to generate an order record that just needs to be collected on. And so you can see, there you go, order Greg House for today, and hop into that. And we're going to close the loop on the referral commissions, the lead referral. So you can see there's the lead referral partner was James Wilson. And then of course there was not a sales referral partner in this case. But there you go. There's the order. It's there. It's now going to show up on your receivables, and you can collect the payment of whatever the balance is, and then even the payment plan is being honored as well. So you can see that there's the $500 in 2 different payments.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
it's really powerful to be able to close on the phone and literally get the money in the bank immediately. And this is also where the product automation comes in. So as soon as the order is flagged as paid and a payment comes in, if there's any automation, it kicks it off. And so one of the most powerful parts of the tool, because this is literally where you make your money, and it combines the CRM with the automation with the e-commerce function. It's just that triple Venn diagram, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got about 12 minutes left. So we're going to try and power through. And I think we've been doing a good job of answering questions along the way. So keep them coming if you do have them, so we don't leave them all to the very end. Okay, back over to the, so we've covered essentially everything I think that we wanted to under the products and subscriptions tab. There were 2 other elements here, print a letter and print a label. Those are the same functionality that you have on the contact record as well. So if you're using those, you just know that you're able to also leverage those over here on the opportunity records too. So, okay, moving along to the next tab that I've got on here, which is a custom tab. This is a custom field, custom tab, custom data that I'm storing on the opportunity record. And there was a question that came in about merging data in. So I'm going to tie this into the CRM settings that we're going to look at next. So essentially when you're creating custom fields and you go over to the admin settings, by default, your custom fields is going to be set up for the contact record. So if you want to create opportunity custom fields, you're just going to simply select from this dropdown and change that over to opportunities and hit go. Once you're there, it functions the exact same way when you're creating custom fields on the contact record, but these are 100 opportunity custom fields that you're able to generate, and they are different than the contact record. They live exclusively on the opportunity record, and you're only able to view them on the opportunity record and in opportunity searches, aside from the cool pipeline automation that we're going to show you. So essentially, this is super valuable. Again, with search criteria, you're able to, when you have that information living on the contact record, because sometimes you don't want to be toggling back and forth between contact and opportunity record, you're able to then maybe further segment by like the facility type or like whichever custom field data is important to you. You're able to start searching the data by additional pieces of information. So when you go to your opportunities and you hit a search, by adding those custom fields, you can see that all of a sudden that information now becomes accessible to you here. And so you're able to use that in searches, that you can create saved searches, which are those dynamic searches that show up in this drop down here. As well as, and Paul, anything else before I just touch on the sharing about specifically for the custom fields you want to touch on?
Yes, absolutely. So the custom field data is unique per contact record. So a good example of this is I had one of my buddies, he has a photography company, and I was letting him use my app for a little bit. And so he used his custom fields to store information about, because he did sports photography. So what kind of event was it? What was the hotel information? Operationally, how much staff did he need? What type of booth setup was he using? And so even if he did multiple tournaments throughout the years with the same vendor, each year would have different information. This is also super handy for speakers as well. I remember way back in the day, I was working with Chris Brogan, and he was using opportunities to track his event acquisition for speaking events. And they did the same kind of thing where they had a yes/no field of like, is the hotel booked? Is the airplane ticket bought? Is the rental car bought? What's the date of the speaking engagement? And all the operational information that they needed to do their job and make sure that he was booking as many keynotes as he could, was using the opportunity record. And so this is super handy. I use this a lot to help with my fulfillment. So I have a custom link for a custom field that's a website type for like the Trello board that they're working on. a link to the shared client Google Drive folder, and then I even have a couple sales specific ones as well. So a link to their initial diagnostic doc or their sales notes, a link into the chat that we're doing. So if I'm chatting with them on LinkedIn or on Facebook or even in an email, I just deep link to that conversation specifically, and that's a great way to save yourself time and almost kind of treat it like a switching hub when you're using Infusionsoft with other project management tools or just, you know, social media, those kinds of things.
Very cool. The sharing tab on the opportunities record, I won't spend too much time on it, just to know that when you're actually setting up the user permissions, you can set it up so opportunities are only visible to the person who owns them, which is seen on the general tab, so right over here. But there might be other people that you want to have access to the opportunities that maybe belong to other departments, or just another person, maybe it's your accounting person, but the opportunity is not assigned to them because they're not the salesperson. So in the sharing tab, you're able to either allow other users of Infusionsoft, or if you've created a group, for example, like the admin group, or you can even create your own custom groups, you can allow other people who are not the opportunity record owner to either view it or edit information on the opportunity. I would say it's probably more common to have people be able to view it in other departments, and you know, mostly it's going to be the main person, your salesperson, who's going to be working the opportunity record itself.
Yep.
And okay, so let's dive into the workflow automations. Just to mention that from Infusionsoft's campaign builder to an opportunity record, there's really only three ways that you can trigger three main ways you can trigger automation to start. So one is definitely these sales stages. If you have a campaign, which in Paul's initial presentation, he talked about the sales pipeline starter kit, which is an amazing starting place. If you move someone into or out of these stages, what's going to happen is you can have it tied into the campaign builder, and it can start automation or stop automation. So this is one way that you can trigger automation from the opportunity record, to have the contact information and the contact go into a campaign. But just keep in mind, it's the contact, it's not the opportunity record. We just have a few levers that we can pull from the opportunity record. So one is this sales stages and steps. Another one is if you scroll down below and you're on the tasks tab, you will see that you have the ability to also access all your internal forms as well as your note templates. So you're able to access it this way too, by, you know, adding a note template or filling out an internal form. The third thing, or the fourth kind of area where you could, but Paul and I have a very similar train of thought on this, is what they have done, Keep, is they've allowed you to actually access tags. I would recommend, and Paul would recommend, that you, instead of applying and removing tags, you use a note as an example, a note template or an internal form, which is doing that for you in the background, but you're not going to accidentally apply the wrong tag and then start the wrong campaign. So in general, when I say those three things, yes, technically there's a fourth, but the note template, the internal form, and the sales stages would be the ways that you can start the automation workflows from the opportunity record.
Especially when you consider a sales team who maybe isn't that interested in learning your entire tagging structure.
Yes, absolutely. The last area of the opportunity record, before we just quickly go over to the CRM settings, is the sales history. And this one is really cool. I'm going to let Paul actually explain this one because he told me about it.
So the sales history is a running tally of the different stage moves, from what stage were they in and where did they go, how many days were they in that stage, you know, who moved it, who's assigned it. So it gives you a really clear paper trail of the sales history. And this is how, and this information right here is used in certain reports to determine velocity and you know, the percentage of moving from one stage to the next. So this is super handy. For the individual sales rep, if you have like a really big pipeline with a lot of people in it, this might be handy. It's probably more of a sales manager tool to make sure people are doing their jobs right and that they are moving from places to places. And it's just another place to look at the data if you need further insight into what was happening. So
Perfect.
That is, and that again is unique per opportunity record as well. So you would have different sales histories across different opportunities throughout the course of a relationship.
Perfect. Yeah. And if you take a look, the task, I think we mentioned this, but the tasks tab is the same. So you're able to see that same information from the contact record over to the opportunity record, whereas the sales history is super specific and only lives on the opportunity record. Okay, so we talked a little bit about some of these amazing bells and whistles. Some of them have some settings that you need to know about in the CRM. So let's quickly go over to the CRM settings, okay? And in the CRM settings, what you'll see on the left-hand side is there's the sales settings. And so there are 4 of them here. The first one that I'll just touch on is if you wanted to create those product bundles, that lives right here. So the product interest bundles, this is how you could go ahead and create a product interest bundle and connect all of the different products and or subscriptions that you want to have available to you in that little drop down. That is just done right here. And again, very easy to just connect them. The opportunity default. So let's talk about this for a quick second. There is your active sales stages, and this is related to some reporting that's available. It's also related to inside of the campaign builder. When you use the create opportunity process, there is a little checkbox that says only created if they're not in an active, if they don't have an active opportunity. So essentially, so you don't have duplicates if someone is filling out multiple forms that you've got connected to a bunch of automation. And so this active sales stage would be really helpful for you to indicate, like, if they're in any one of these stages, this is considered active. Any report specifically to call out, Paul, for active sales stages or how that, aside from the campaign builder? Okay, cool.
Nope, you nailed it.
Then you've got the default stage. So again, this is going to be if you just create an opportunity manually, or like kind of like where are they going to start if I don't say somewhere else. So usually 99% of the time, it's just going to be the very top of your pipeline, a new lead or a new opportunity stage, whatever that beginning stage is. Then you're able to select won and lost stages. So these are really valuable because when you're on an opportunity record, like Gregory House's, and you go into that won or lost stage, you'll see these are unique and different from the other ones because they actually have the options that show up, and those won reasons are indicated here. So what you can do from the opportunity defaults is you select what does won mean to you, and that could mean different things. It could say won, it could say deposit, it could say, you know, any number of things, but you just select what is that stage for you that would mean that you've sealed the deal, and what are the possible reasons that you want to indicate under it, because you can pull again from the opportunity search, you can run reports and say, like, show me everybody who I won because of price or because of customer service and so forth. And you can make the reasons required, meaning that when a person, when the salesperson is moving them into a stage, they can't actually save it until they select a reason. So oftentimes what I've seen is the won reasons and the lost reasons will either both be required, or certainly what businesses want to know is why are they losing them. So they'll usually make the lost reason required if the won reason is optional. So these are really powerful. Again, they're pulling from your sales pipeline that you've already created. So you indicate the stage, and then you just indicate all the possible different reasons that when you move the contact into that stage, all those reasons show up. It's also a list box, so you can do a multi-select. If you lost it for 2 reasons, you could indicate that as well. Then below, viewing opportunities. So by default, and this is a tricky one. So by default, when you create an opportunity, you will see, if I click on add an opportunity, the owner is going to show up from the view opportunities field. So essentially what this means is that whichever users have permission to even be assigned and see the opportunities have to be assigned to a certain group. So when you're creating your users in the back end of Infusionsoft, so if I go to admin users, what will be important is that all the users that you want to have access to those opportunities. So if I want Paul to have access to the opportunities, I'm going to go over to the user group, but I'm going to assign him to the sales rep group because that is the group that's able to view the opportunities. Now, when I go over and I create the opportunity, you would see that he has the ability to be added as an owner, him and myself as well. And so that's pulling from this feature. Most of these you're going to leave in the default setting. The one specific one that I want to call out is syncing the opportunity and the contact owner. Very rarely, but occasionally, you might want to have one person own the contact, which means that like they see that information and then it's assigned to a specific sales rep just to work a deal. So generally speaking, the person who owns the contact owns the opportunity as well. But in this case, you have the ability to actually disconnect them from one another or sever them from one another. So the person who owns the opportunity record could be different from the contact owner. Again, I don't think it's super common. Paul, if you can think of a use case for that, but
no, I mean, the only use case I can think of is if you kind of have like an influencer type or whatnot, and you want the emails to come from the main person, and so that would be the owner on the contact record. So you can merge the owner information, but the opportunity itself is being assigned to one of their people inside, and they kind of want to, hide them behind the curtain. But yeah, usually it's the defaults.
Got it. The buy now link. So again, you saw in the opportunity record, if we left it blank, it was saying 14 days it would expire. So this is just going to be that set default expiry date. You just pick however long you want them to expire after. These two are amazing. So you actually can put automation behind people clicking on the buy now links. And this is something really powerful that you can do from this setting. And so what you can do as an example is if you put automation, if I go ahead and click buy now link, and then I want to create a task, for my salesperson, because they know the second someone is clicking on it, they're probably warm, as opposed to, me following up with them the next day. So you can put automation behind those buy now links, and then also trigger more of a more visibility into the salesperson's follow-ups. Paul, anything else to specific? I know buy now links are probably your favorite part of the opportunity. Anything else you want to call out specifically about this section?
No, if anything, I would recommend with any of these legacy action hooks that we've got, usually we would want to go ahead and just apply some kind of a tag and then let a campaign take over for the automation. However, there may be certain cases where you want to, maybe merge information in from a lead record, opportunity record, and so that's where you might use this. And I think that probably is going to be the last thing that we cover real quick because we're pretty much at time. As far as the breakdowns of every single sales CRM report, I am going to go ahead and put into the chat a guest post I recently did for Greg Jenkins over at MonkeyPod that breaks down all 12 reports that are available, and definitely go ahead and check that out. But go ahead and blow some minds, Renee. I think this is a great way to end it. Show people how you can merge opportunity fields into an email.
Absolutely. Okay. So the last thing, sales pipeline automation, you can go ahead and select a trigger. So I've got one set up here already, so I'll just go into it. But essentially you're able to say that when someone moves into or out of a particular stage, again, it's all tied to your sales pipeline. What you can do is you can have as an action. So again, it's that legacy actions drop down that you're able to leverage, but you're able to click on send an email or fax, etc. And when you do that, and you go ahead and if you don't have a template created, you just add one. So I'm just going to edit the one that I've already created here. And what you're able to do is when you go ahead and leverage this template and you use it this way, you're able to, when you click on the merge field, you're going to now see that the opportunity fields all of a sudden appear here in this view. And so you're able to leverage those custom fields, but also the buy now link expiration, and these other opportunity fields that are available to you here. So this is the way that if you need to do any of that custom stuff that's coming from the opportunity and you want to have automation behind it, it's the pipeline automation that's going to allow you to do it. And this is the one and only way that you're going to merge in that data.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to be aware that the reason why it happens in here is Infusionsoft has to know what specific opportunity am I merging information from. And so the one gotcha with this is that the email has to be sent immediately. You can't have a delay and then send something out like this. You can't pull this information. You can't like copy paste these merge fields into a campaign and then expect it to work. because at the campaign level, the campaign is through the context of the contact, where this is through the context of the specific opportunity record or the lead record. But that is how you do it.
Absolutely.
And man, you did a great job. Everybody give Renee a hand. That was super badass and cool. And I know it's like drinking from a fire hose. I want to answer one quick question. Ed Phillips says, can an internal form be used to populate the fields, including custom fields in the opportunity area? Unfortunately, no. Internal forms, like the campaign builder, only operate at the contact level. However, there are third-party tools that you can use to push information from a contact record into an opportunity record. So I want to say, oh God, there's like like a Funnelbots or the API guys. There's a couple of different tools that let you push data from one record type to another. So I guess the answer, Ed, is yes, you can, just not out of the box. You would have to have some third-party tool that does that for you.
All right, perfect, guys. Well, thank you so much. I know we got a couple of questions that came in kind of past the line. So if you have more questions, don't worry. You'll get an email this afternoon that tells you how to get a hold of Renee and Paul. So if you want to do any kind of follow-up with them, ask them some more details, please feel free. Also, we are recording today. And so if you found like, hey, this actually was a little like fire hose, that's okay. You can come back and watch it again at your leisure, pause where you need to, make some edits in your system, and we'll have the links like you see here that Renee is sharing to the sessions they did before that can help you get maybe a ground level foundation if you don't have that today. So thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for sticking around a little bit longer. Most of you guys stuck around even a little bit extra, so we appreciate you guys sticking around for that. And we've got this going on next week as well. We've got more sessions next week, things about how to plan out your automation better, ways to set up multi-step forms to make sure that you can get leads to capture with only asking a little bit and then ask the big questions you need to ask to get them qualified as a lead. So go back to the registration page, register for those, and we'll see you guys next week.